I'm continuing my discussion of the Trump indictment, the indictment on January 6th, or the indictment on illegal efforts by Trump supposedly to overturn the 2020 election. I'll be going into the claims and charges specifically in more detail. By the way, this is not just a case against Trump. There are 6 unindicted co-conspirators. So these people haven't been named, but the charging documents talk about an attorney who worked with Trump to do this and a consultant who worked with Trump to do that. So presumably indictments will come down against those people. Also, we don't yet know who they are. But I want to focus now on the heart of this claim on the part of Jack Smith. It is not just that Trump claimed that the 2020 election was stolen. It's not just that Trump contested the results of the 2020 election. It is that Trump misled the American people and incited the American people to action, even though he knew that he had lost the election. So this is a very startling claim, not just that the election wasn't stolen, but that the election wasn't stolen. Trump knew it wasn't stolen, and nevertheless, he persisted in challenging the results, almost as if he's nothing more than a sort of political provocateur, a kind of insider, somebody who was doing this for whatever reasons, maybe for fundraising reasons, or maybe to avoid embarrassment or humiliation. He wanted to insist he didn't lose, even though, quote, he knew he lost. Now, let's go to the heart of that matter and ask the simple question: did Trump know that he lost the 2020 election? I'll go into the supposed proof or the evidence that is put forward in the indictment, but on first glance, that evidence looks to me to be very weak, and in fact bordering on stupid. Why? Because it's essentially Trump claimed X, somebody else told him Y, therefore Y is true, therefore Trump should have believed Y, and since Trump continued to say that the election was stolen, he obviously had been told by Y and therefore knew from Y that it hadn't been stolen, and therefore Trump was lying. Well, this is really hardly convincing to anyone with a brain, because many times you believe something and someone tells you the opposite, but you don't believe them. Or you've got other people who are telling you what you believe. And so it's your job to kind of weigh the credibility, the value, the likelihood of someone being correct. In other words, you form an opinion based upon varied observations, varied sources of data, varied numbers of people telling you different things. I can say from personal testimony, Debbie and I we showed Trump the movie 2000 Mules. You could tell from his reaction, just his spontaneous reaction, that it was a vindication for him. He's like, I knew it. Here you go. Here's the evidence. Here's more evidence than I've ever seen before. So Trump is reacting in a way that makes it really clear. And then he seemed almost downcast at the end of the screening. He's like, I just feel very sad for my country. So you can see here that Trump fully believes the election was stolen, sees in our film, which of course comes much later, in 2022, a kind of vindication of that sincere belief. And then in the Mar-a-Lago premiere, which occurred a few weeks later, the same thing. Trump is reacting. He's seen the movie once, but he's now giving further commentary. He's sitting right next to me. And again, if there's one thing that the guy believes for sure, it's that the 2020 election was stolen from him. He believed that from the beginning. He's believed that all the way. He believed that when he saw 2000 Mules, and he believes it still. So the idea, if your premise of your whole case is that Trump knew that the election wasn't stolen, you're off to a really bad start. But there's a second point that Jonathan Turley made today on television that I want to touch upon, and I'll develop this point far more. Jonathan Turley takes, in a way, a more radical view. He goes, so what if Trump, let's just grant the prosecution, Trump knew the election wasn't stolen, but he continued to say it was. In other words, he's a politician who knows X to be true, but says Y. Turley's point is, so what? He has a free speech right to do that. Politicians have a free speech right to lie. In other words, politicians who know one thing, think of Joe Biden. I've never been in business with my son. I've never talked to my son about his business dealings. That's a lie. He actually knows that the opposite is true. He was in meetings, he was on the phone calls, money has flowed into the Biden family account. So he knows all of that, but his public stance is completely different. Well, Joe Biden is a liar. He's a crook. He's a mafia guy. He's running a bribery scheme. But can he be indicted solely on the grounds that he knew one thing and believed another? I don't believe so. There's no crime there. The crime is elsewhere. The crime is taking the bribes. The crime is delivering public benefits or delivering political benefits in exchange for money. That's where the crime is. It's bribery. But the crime is not free speech. So it seems to me that I'm not saying that this is a strong indictment on the merits, but I'm saying it has a lot of accusations that need to be carefully considered. Why? Because we have a prejudicial judge and very likely a prejudiced jury that is going to be hearing these charges not too far from now. Have you heard about the Durban Accords? They're the greatest threat to the US dollar's global dominance in the past 80 years. On August 22nd, coming up, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa are expected to announce the launch of a new international supercurrency fully backed by gold or other commodities. Now, this is part of a long-term plan to supplant the US and the dollar as cornerstones of the global financial system. Well, how can you protect your IRA or 401k from the fallout from this landmark change? You can diversify with gold from Birch Gold Group. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which is right now. Get a free information kit on gold IRAs and decide for yourself if a tax-sheltered retirement account backed by physical precious metals is right for you. Text the word Dinesh to 989898. A monumental shift is happening among nations that control 1/3 of the world's GDP starting August 22nd. So protect your retirement savings. Get started by texting Dinesh to the number 989898. Claim your free information kit on gold from Birch Gold.